Fans are in utter amazement after Yandy and Mendeecees' romance took a terrible turn. They're following close friends, and Mendeecees himself most definitely did not anticipate this. After learning of his alleged affair, Yandy's otherwise uneventful day descended into a full-fledged nightmare, and she did not take it lightly. Yandy's response was heated, according to sources. Things became much more bizarre when an unplanned altercation occurred at a public event. Tension had already been building, but when Yandy finally met Mendeecees in person, it ended with a thunderous slap that went viral online. Even onlookers halted in disbelief because the moment was so dramatic. But who is the woman responsible for this affair? That's the true question. What, specifically, was said by Mendeecees that made Yandy lose it? This story is about to take some unexpected turns, so fasten your seatbelts. A breakdown of every delicious element of this love scandal is about to happen. The tension was so thick it could have been cut with a knife. What began as a typical evening swiftly descended into a violent altercation that no one, particularly Mendeecees, anticipated. Yandy had always handled things with poise, but everything changed when she learned of the gossip about her spouse. Initially, she dismissed it as just another online rumor. Yandy had experienced worse. People always sought ways to undermine them and create drama where none existed. But this time was different. It wasn't just random internet trolls whispering. People close to them were making these claims, people who wouldn't make things up. Then the bomb dropped. A close friend shared a blurry, distant video with Yandy. Although the footage wasn't clear, the individuals in it were easily identifiable. Mendeecees was with a woman who was clearly not Yandy. He was too close and too comfortable. She watched the video on repeat, her hands shaking as new details surfaced, his hand lingering on the woman's waist, a chuckle that sounded a little too intimate. Yandy's anger surged, constricting her chest. After all they had endured, after everything she had sacrificed for him, this was how he repaid her? She had stood by him through his hardest moments, and now this. Normally composed, Yandy acted on impulse. She grabbed her phone and dialed Mendeecees without thinking. It rang once, then twice. No response. Her jaw tightened as she gripped the phone. Still nothing. Was he ignoring her? Or worse, was that woman still with him? Resolute, she snatched her keys and stormed out. She wasn't going to wait for an explanation. If he didn't answer, she would find him herself. When she finally reached the lounge where Mendeecees had last been seen, her anger had transformed into a full-blown tempest. As soon as she entered, all eyes were on her. Phones came out, friends nudged each other, and whispers filled the air. Disaster was imminent. Then she saw him. Mendeecees sat in the back, oblivious to the cyclone heading his way. Sitting next to him was the woman from the video. Yandy felt her rage surge uncontrollably. She marched toward them, her voice cutting through the air like a dagger before Mendeecees could even process what was happening. "This is what you've been doing?" His eyes widened. "Yandy, don't you dare act confused," she spat. "I saw everything." Silence blanketed the room. Even the music seemed to fade. Mendeecees looked around nervously, as though searching for an escape. "It's not what it looks like, darling," he muttered. Yandy laughed bitterly. "Oh, right. Because while your wife is at home thinking you're working, it looks like you're cozying up with some random woman." The woman shifted uncomfortably in her seat, suddenly anxious. Yandy scowled. "Maybe you'd like to tell me why my husband is sitting here with you, as if you're a couple." The woman's lips parted, but no words came out. Yandy's fury boiled over. "You don't even need to explain." Smack. A hard slap reverberated across the room, silencing the whispers. Mendeecees staggered back, clutching his face in disbelief. It had never crossed his mind that Yandy might hit him. Phones captured the moment from every angle. Mendeecees stood upright, his embarrassment plain. Yandy wasn't finished. "You stood there and lied to me in our house after everything I've done for you," she shouted. "And now I'm standing here, looking like a complete fool." Mendeecees raised his hands in a placating gesture. "Yandy, keep your voice down. This isn't the place to do this." "Oh, now you care about appearances," she shot back. You didn't seem concerned when you were pretending to be unattached. Laughter erupted from some onlookers. Mendeecees rubbed his cheek. You're wrong. I wasn't pretending to be single. Yandy's eyes narrowed. Then, what's your excuse for the video? Yandy, listen. What's going on here is beyond your comprehension. Yandy snapped. I'm not sure I understand. What's beyond my comprehension is you sitting here with another woman. Who doesn't get it? The woman sitting with Mendeecees appeared visibly uneasy, fidgeting in her chair as if she wished to vanish. She grabbed her pocketbook in a hasty attempt to leave. Perhaps I should go. Oh, you're not going anywhere, Yandy interrupted. You can sit here and defend yourself since you dared to go out in public with a married man. Who are you, anyways? The woman's gaze darted between Yandy and Mendeecees. She paused, clearly torn about whether speaking would make things better or worse. This is not what you believe, Yandy, Mendeecees said. Yandy folded her arms, her expression stern. Then explain, because it looks pretty damn obvious from where I'm standing. The woman grabbed her purse, clearly ready to flee. I don't want to be part of this drama. Yandy blocked her path. Oh, you were fine sitting with my husband like this. But now you're running. Mendeecees exhaled sharply, his patience fraying. Enough, Yandy. You're making a scene. Yandy raised her hands. You're the one who caused trouble when you humiliated me in public. Mendeecees rubbed his temples in frustration. It's not what you think. Just let me. No, Yandy cut him off. Whatever explanation you have, you'd better start talking fast. The tension in the room was unbearable. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The room was tense. No one dared move or speak. They had been waiting, anticipating Mendeecees' next move. He took a deep breath, attempting to regain control while keeping his hands on the table. He felt cornered by the weight of all the eyes in the room. His cheek still stung from the slap, and he noticed that people were grinning and whispering, clearly enjoying the show. After being publicly humiliated by Yandy, Mendeecees couldn't allow things to spiral any further. In an attempt to limit the damage, he softened his voice. Mendeecees let out a deep breath and wiped his face. He felt surrounded, with no way out. Finally, he gestured toward the woman. Her name is Vanessa. She's a business associate. Yandy arched an eyebrow. A business associate, she repeated incredulously. That's all you've got? Mendeecees' tone turned guarded. We were discussing a possible agreement. That's all. Yandy shook her head with a sour laugh. Oh, really? Late-night drinks, cozy booths, and whatever that laugh was in the video are all part of corporate gatherings now. Vanessa finally found her voice. All we were doing was talking. I had no idea things would escalate to this. Yandy's eyes blazed as she confronted her. I don't give a damn about what you didn't know. The truth is, you looked pretty comfortable with my husband while sitting here. Mendeecees groaned, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You're making a big deal out of nothing, Yandy. Oh, so the video was all in my head? Yandy retorted. I suppose the woman in it just happened to look exactly like her? Mendeecees remained silent. No matter what he said, he knew Yandy wouldn't tolerate it. Furthermore, he wasn't entirely innocent. Things had gotten a little too casual and comfortable. While he hadn't cheated, he knew he hadn't acted like a married man should. Finally, he sighed and looked Yandy in the eye. I made a mistake, all right? This should never have been hidden from you. I should have made it clear that it was just business. Yandy's gaze hardened. Then why didn't you? Mendeecees hesitated. Vanessa shifted nervously beside him, clearly hoping she wouldn't get dragged further into the mess. At last, he confessed. Because I knew you'd react like this. I knew you'd jump to conclusions, just like you're doing right now. If I told you, Yandy, Mendeecees began, but his tone shifted, harsher this time. Oh, so now you're blaming me? You're out here in the middle of the night conducting secret meetings because of me? That's not what happened, Mendeecees quickly responded. I just didn't want to deal with unnecessary drama. Yandy's jaw clenched. Well, congratulations, Mendeecees, because now you've got all the drama you were trying to avoid. The tension between them was palpable. Everyone nearby was enjoying the show, though they pretended to be absorbed in their own conversations while waiting for the next move. Vanessa cleared her throat and shifted uncomfortably. "Look," she mumbled, "I really don't want to be in the middle of this. I think I should just go." Yandy lost her temper. "Before I arrived, you were sitting here feeling pretty damn comfortable." Mendeecees sighed and turned to Vanessa. "Yeah, you might want to leave." Vanessa didn't waste any time. She all but ran out of the lounge, avoiding eye contact as she grabbed her things. Now, it was just Mendeecees and Yandy. As soon as Vanessa left, Yandy stepped closer, lowering her voice but somehow making it more intense. "Be honest with me, Mendeecees," she said. "Are you betraying me?" Mendeecees' eyes widened. Before he could respond, Yandy cut him off. "Don't Yandy me. Tell me, are you planning to end our marriage?" Mendeecees tightened his mouth. "No, I'm not." A heavy silence hung between them, the kind that meant things could either simmer down or explode even more. Yandy searched his face, looking for any sign of dishonesty. "Then why do I feel like you are?" she whispered, her voice trembling with hurt. Mendeecees softened. "Because you don't trust me." "And whose fault is that?" Yandy shot back, trembling. Mendeecees didn't have an answer. The silence stretched once more before Yandy shook her head. "I'm done." With that, she turned on her heel and started to leave. Mendeecees took a step forward. "Wait." Yandy spun around, her eyes blazing with frustration. "For what? More excuses?" "It's not what you think," he emphasized. "Come home. Let's talk, just the two of us." Yandy studied him for a long moment before finally exhaling. "You really want me to come home?" "Yes," he answered immediately. "Please." Another pause. Then Yandy gave a small nod. "All right." Mendeecees breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't realize the issue was far from resolved. He stood in place long after Yandy left, replaying every argument and moment of mistrust in his mind. His fists clenched as he let out a frustrated breath. This needed fixing, but how? He reached for his phone and scrolled through his contacts, debating whether to give Yandy some space or call her now. He stopped when he saw Vanessa's name. For a moment, his stomach twisted. "Vanessa." He opened the message thread. "Vanessa? Are you okay? I saw what happened earlier. Do you need to talk?" Mendeecees rubbed his temples. Instead of replying, he locked his phone and tossed it onto the couch. He needed to clear his head before doing anything else. Meanwhile, Yandy sat gripping the steering wheel of her car, parked outside a quiet cafe. She was furious. At him, at herself, and at the entire situation. As much as she wanted to believe him, something felt off. Taking out her phone, she scrolled through the text again. The fact that the unknown sender hadn't responded to her follow-up questions only made her more suspicious. Was it a random troll trying to stir up trouble, or was there some truth to it? Her fingers hovered over the call button. She hesitated, debating whether to press it. Just then, a notification appeared. A video had been sent to her. Her heart raced as she clicked on it. The grainy video played, but it was clear enough. Mendeecees sat in a dimly lit lounge, leaning close to Vanessa. Though they weren't touching, their body language suggested a certain intimacy. What infuriated Yandy most was Vanessa's head tilt and Mendeecees' quick, darting glances, as if he was checking to see if anyone was watching. Yandy played the video again once, twice, each time feeling angrier than before until a tear struck her phone screen. Yandy didn't even realize she was sobbing. This was no ordinary business meeting. Mendeecees' appearance was too at ease, too familiar. And before Vanessa approached him, he didn't even mention seeing her. That was it. Yandy took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and made a decision. No more guessing, no more interrogation. Tonight, she was going to get the answer she needed. Her hands were clenched so tightly around the steering wheel that her knuckles were white as she drove home. Each red light felt like an eternity. By the time she pulled into the driveway, she was trembling. Mendeecees was pacing in the living room when she walked in. "Listen, Yandy." She said nothing. Instead, she took out her phone, tapped the screen, and raised it toward him. The video started playing. Mendeecees' face went pale. "Yandy, you have to understand." His tone was barely audible above a whisper. Yandy's voice, despite her trembling hands, was icy. It doesn't matter who sent it. What matters is that it's real. Mendeecees didn't respond right away. You're taking this out of context. Vanessa and I were just talking. That's all. Yandy stepped closer, letting out a bitter laugh. Do you think I'm a fool? Do you really think what I saw could be taken out of context? Mendeecees wiped his face with his hands and groaned. Yandy, please. What do you mean, please? Are you asking me to disregard the fact that my husband has been meeting someone behind my back? Her voice shook with bitterness. Mendeecees clenched his jaw. I wasn't sneaking around. I wanted to handle something privately before it became an issue. Yandy jerked her head back. Privately? For who? It definitely wasn't for me. Frustrated, Mendeecees rubbed his hands over his head. I didn't sleep with her, Yandy. I swear I didn't. But I should have told you about it. Yandy felt her heart pounding. Oh, now you want to be honest? Mendeecees took a deep breath. Vanessa, she's someone I dealt with a long time ago before you. Recently. She called me and claimed to have something she wanted to make public. Yandy's eyes widened. What? I didn't want you to hear it like that. My plan was to meet with her, find out what she was talking about, and shut it down before it became public. But things got out of hand. Yandy's breathing became labored. And you expect me to believe that? I don't expect you to believe anything, Mendeecees snapped, finally raising his voice. But before you assume the worst, I expect you to at least listen to me. Yandy lowered her head, exhaling a shaky breath. Do you know what's absurd? I want to believe you. But every time I trust you, something like this happens. Mendeecees stepped forward to grab her hand, but she slapped his hands away, and then slapped him across the face. They both froze in shock. The sound echoed around the room, leaving an eerie silence. Mendeecees' eyes darkened with something unreadable, his jaw tightening. Slowly, he turned his head back to her. Yandy's hands were still shaking, her chest rising and falling with quick breaths. It wasn't until it was too late that she realized what she had done. The air between them was heavy with quiet. Mendeecees swallowed hard, his voice low. Are you finished? Yandy blinked rapidly, her thoughts scattered.